Well, for more on the role women and social media played in the oust of Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, I'm joined by VOA's Ayan Bior, co-host of the popular women's television talk show, Our Voices. Ayan, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, first, in Sudan, being a very Islamic country, most people don't expect women to come out so strongly and be involved in such public action. How can we explain this?
Well, I think that in order to explain this, you have to look at how the economy in Sudan has impacted the women there. Part of the reason why protesters took to the streets is because the bread prices were too high. And we've heard from many parents, many mothers who have said that they could not feed their children because they could not afford bread. So I think that women showed up because the economy impacted them first and foremost. But also, if you look at the laws in Sudan, they are very restrictive towards women. There's public order laws that control how a woman dresses, how a woman speaks, who she associates with. And the UN tells us that 1 out of 3 women are married before the age of 18, and 9 out of 10 have undergone female genital mutilation. And if you remember last year, the case of Noura Hussein, she was sentenced to death in Sudan because she murdered her husband who was trying to rape her. That case was overturned eventually, but I spoke to countless protesters here in DC who said there are many women like Noura. And so what we saw during these protests is women coming together and trying to correct the laws of the past to make sure that the new Sudan does not repeat those same mistakes.
Yes, definitely. Omar al-Bashir and other men there will now have more respect for women in Sudan. But how did the women use social media to organize so effectively?
Well, you know what? I always say that if women were the engine of this revolution, the oil of the revolution that kept the engine going was social media. Social media was really used to disseminate information. And if you think about it, Sudan's press freedoms are very restrictive, and the media is controlled by the state. So journalists, people had no way of getting factual information. And in fact, Reporters Without Borders just released an index that has Sudan at 175 at 180 countries. So the country is really not free. But social media was first and foremost used to disseminate information.
Now, we saw that the security forces that were associated with Omar al-Bashir were so ruthless. I mean, they beat up people, they killed people, but the protesters maintained calm. They were still peacefully protesting.
And that was actually by design. I've spoken to a lot of people who have said that in WhatsApp groups, they told protesters to remain calm. And one of the ways that they did that was they tried to combat fake news via WhatsApp group. I spoke to one person who said that government supporters would try to disseminate fake news and get protesters upset. But WhatsApp in particular was used as a way to keep protesters calm and to tell them to remain calm, because if they were violent, the Sudanese government would then have a reason to come after them.
Exactly. And we see now cities, most times in other countries, people now react and they start breaking things up, they start being extremely violent. Now, this social media worked so well, but we know that actually social media has been very restricted in Sudan. So how did they go about it?
It has. Well, they have gone through via VPN connections. And so I'm not a technology reporter, so I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know that they were able to circumvent the restrictions through the VPN connection.
Yeah, but in a few seconds left, do we hope, though, to see a woman in positions of leadership now that, and I'm not saying you know much, but from what you've seen, is there any evidence that they might be involved in the new administration?
Well, from what I have seen through these protests that started in December, women have proven that they can lead. And I think that women have really earned their respect, not just in Sudan, but around the globe. So who knows, maybe that will happen, but that really remains to be seen. As I understand, they're still trying to figure out what the government is going to look like right now.
You know what? Women are just tough. They're just strong. Look at you. You know?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ayan, thank you very much. That's Ayan Bior. She is a co-host of VOA's women's television talk show, Our Voices.